It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 6 films of January 27th, 2006. And they certainly range from a couple of movies centering around nannies, one that's incredibly stupid, the other surprisingly charming. We also have James Franco in a film with a couple Fast and Furious alums, not just in acting, but the director as well. Steven Soderbergh has a movie out this weekend, also a new Disney documentary, and a very interesting kind of love story. But before we get to all those movies, we have to talk about the biggest new release of the weekend. As much as I don't really want to, but the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is unfortunately the sequel to Big Mama's House, Big Mama's House 2. Why am I pointing my fingers like that? 2. I sincerely apologize for making you have to sit through that trailer. Good lord. I forgot how bad that trailer was. That's one of the worst trailers I've ever seen in my entire life. Every single one of those jokes were the types of jokes you would see on a bad CBS sitcom. Not even like the ones that were on the same night as Everybody Loves Raymond, like King of Queens, Yes, You're Still Standing. I'm talking about the comedies of nowadays, like there's like these really bad sitcoms, like these really bad, terrible comedies. That's the level of comedy is in this movie, because this film literally takes the family-friendly turn on this. I'm surprised this didn't get a PG rating, honestly, compared to what the original film was going for here. And yeah, this is about as bad as it gets. I mean, it's about as simple as it gets when it comes to the plot. Martin Lawrence is back as Big Mama, reprising his disguise from the first movie as a corpulent old lady as he takes a job as a nanny in a crime suspect's house. And hilarity ensues according to this movie, but yeah, this ain't that good of a movie. And even so, it's still not the worst Big Mama movie. We still have one more to go. That's 5 years down the road from here. Hell, this isn't even the worst movie directed by this director. This director, John Whitesell, who did Malibu's Most Wanted before this, will give us his true masterpiece of entertainment, and that is Deck the Halls at the end of the year. But this, it's not even that it's a bad movie. I mean, there are times when it's so stupid that you do get a chuckle every once in a while, but just the laziness of some of those jokes. I mean, the trailer I just showed you just featured some really, really bad jokes, like the kid jumps off of high places. Comedy. He's got to go into the spa where like all these women, models by the way, because heaven forbid if we don't have if we have an ugly person in the spa, getting stripping down to their clothes and all that. The thing at the end where she's asking Martin Lawrence to unhook her bra, and he has this look on her face like he has no idea what to say. Like that's the level of comedy in this movie, and unfortunately, nothing about it is funny. Nothing about it is really worth it in the long run. And like I said, it's bad. You think that this gets a bit worse? This isn't even the worst movie from this director or the worst movie in this series, because we've got that later on down the road. But just the levels of absurdity, the levels of laziness, it's amazing that this movie made the money that it did. But then again, when you put this out in the middle of January, where there's no other sequels out there no other movies out there to make money, of course people are going to be stupid enough to go see this movie. I was stupid enough to go see this movie in the theater, and yeah, I regret it. I indeed regret it. But do I really need to say more about what's wrong with this movie in general? This is not a good movie whatsoever. It's only slightly funnier than Big Mama's Like Father, Like Son, and that's not even that good of a compliment to begin with. But let's go ahead and get to a good nanny movie that came out on this very weekend. Emma Thompson starring in Nanny McPhee. So in essence, it's pretty much an uglier version of Mary Poppins, but it does work. And it's based off of a series of children's books where you have Emma Thompson, who wrote the script for this, set in Victorian England in the 1860s. She's this nanny brought in to take care of these kids. You have Colin Firth in here as the father figure, Kelly MacDonald, Angela Lansbury is also involved in here as well. And yeah, it's very much similar to a movie like Mary Poppins, but I think this movie has enough distinctive things about it to make it stand out on its own. Not just the fact that this woman is like ugly, but at the same time, you have to. It's like with most people, you have to look past you can't judge a book by its cover. And yeah, this movie does take a very nice, stylistic, and very charming approach to it. It works very well, mostly because of what Emma Thompson brings to the table in here. Not only does she write the script, but she does create a very likable character in Nanny McPhee in general. And there is a lot of good life lessons to be taught in this movie in general, and it's just a film that works on so many levels, and it works because you have a really good cast that really puts the film together. The visual appeal of the film is very charming. It's a very silly movie, and it knows how silly it is. This is the opposite of what Big Mama's House 2 was trying to do. There's silliness in here, but it's silliness that they know is in here, and they're just having the time of their life with it, and it works very well to a T. It's a very likable film. It's a very likable film, boasted by the strong performance by Thompson. A really terrific film. I really do recommend checking it out. It's one of those ones where it looks like it's going down the path of a movie that you think you've seen done to death so many times, but there is a little bit of that charm and spark there to give it its own fresh new approach of how to tell the story, and I think it works very well to a T. It's one I definitely recommend checking out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next film I have here, and that is Annapolis. Annapolis, this is the story about James Franco, who's a young man who attends the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. You think a movie about Annapolis would make for an interesting film in general here, but this is basically it's just Top Gun. Yeah, it's literally just Top Gun, except instead of it's mostly taking place in Annapolis. And I said Fast and Furious connections because the director of this is Justin Lin. Of course, he would follow this up later in the year with his first of many Fast and Furious movies, along with Tyrese Gibson and Jordana Brewster. Of course, Fast and Furious cast members in general. In addition to them, you have Donnie Wahlberg, Chi McBride. A good cast overall. I mean, I don't think James Franco is a bad actor at all. I think he has had a lot of good movies where he's shown what he can do as an actor as a whole. It's just everything else in the movie. The script is just a mess. It's nothing but a watered-down version of Top Gun, and not even an exciting version of Top Gun. I mean, this is about as lazy of a film as you can get. And this is the type of film that you could tell had better intentions, but they saw the final product, and Disney just said, we can't release this movie. Dump this out in the middle of January so we can completely forget about it. And lo and behold, that's why this was put out this weekend. And it just didn't work. It's a movie that has possibilities with the cast that's involved in it. A good director who has proven time and time again what he's able to do as a whole. But the movie itself just is about as bland and as generic and as lackluster as you can get. It's the definition of a movie that deserves to be dumped in the middle of this dumping ground of a month. And yeah, there's nothing of value to it to really show for it, unfortunately. So that is Annapolis. Now let's get to another Disney movie that came out this week, and another documentary from them. Since we've had Ghost of the Abyss, and Aliens of the Deep the years before, now we have Roaming Toy Boat. Now we have Roving Mars. No, Disney, stay away from Mars. It's box office poison. This is Roving Mars, of course. This is the documentary where you join the Mars rover's spirit and opportunity for an awe-inspiring journey on the surface of the mysterious red planet, and through the eyes of two intrepid state-of-the-art rovers, along with NASA scientists and engineers at their side, you'll see Mars in a way no one has ever before, standing on the surface of the planet that's intrigued mankind for eons. Clearly, you can tell this was an IMAX movie release, and only a 40-minute movie in general here, so it's really just a documentary where it's really kind of the equivalent of you're basically doing the same thing you'd be doing if you're going to Epcot and riding Mission Space. I mean, that's pretty much what you're doing in this, is with that ride in particular and this film, because you're sitting there watching a movie in general, and I mean, for what this is, it's fine for what it is. I mean, it's not really that bad about it in general, and this is an IMAX movie, and an IMAX screen, this probably would have looked amazing to check out, but I saw it on a much smaller screen. I just thought it was okay, but I mean, anybody that went to go see this in an IMAX theater, I can definitely see why they would have a good time with it here. It is a really cool looking movie. If you got a good TV, I'd say it's worth a watch on there, but other than that, though, there's not really much more to say about this one in general. A good documentary, not one of the great ones, though. So with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Steven Soderbergh's latest film, Bubble. So after I just gave you your nightmare fuel for tonight, we have a story of Bubble about 3 low-paid doll factory workers who one of them ends up getting murdered. And this is directed by Steven Soderbergh. This is his first film he did after Ocean's 12 kind of crashed and burned. And hey, not a bad way to get back on track here with a movie that is so odd and so unlike what you have done before. This is unusual for a fact that This does not have a traditional script. They used only non-professional actors who were actually recruited from the area they shot at in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Belpre, Ohio. All the lines were improvised by the screenwriter of the movie, Coleman Hugh, and this was the first of several films that Soderbergh did that were released in this type of a manner. Some of them actually turned out to be pretty good ones, too. I think Haywire was one of them, and also Side Effects, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one, but this definitely is a very unusual film from Steven Soderbergh. And after something like Ocean's 12 crashed and burned like it did, you can't blame him for trying something new and different and going against the grain. And it makes for a very interesting film in general. A film that's very unique, very uneven at times, very uncomfortable to watch at times. And yeah, it's centering around the marketing is centering around all these freaking doll heads all over the place. So yeah, there is a room there to be kind of frightened by this, but it just works on so many levels. It's a film that works on a number of different assets, from the storytelling, the visual aspect, the direction as a whole. It's so unlike any other Steven Soderbergh film we had seen at the time, and it works very well. It works very well to a T, and it works giving you what you want to see from a concept like this in general here. It gives you something where it's just like I want to know how this transpires. I want to know what the hell's going on in this movie. And I think when you see it, you do get exactly what you think you're going to get from it. And I think it works very well. So I definitely recommend it. Bubble. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, and that is Imagine Me and You. So if you ever wanted to see Cersei Lannister and Steve Martin's kid from Cheaper by the Dozen make it is being a lesbian relationship, there you go. This is the movie for you. You have the story of Rachel, who is a nice girl who's going to marry Hector, her longtime boyfriend. While she's working on the wedding preparations, she meets wedding florist Luce and unexpectedly falls in love with her, and discovers what having love feelings for another woman is like. Rachel meets Luce a few times, hiding it from her family, especially her mother Tessa, who contracted Luce. At the same time, Heck tries to win his in-laws' affections, especially father-in-law Ned, and Rachel embarks on marriage and daily life with her husband, but her love and passion for Luce causes a secret affair between them and doubts in Rachel about the life she wants for herself. So yeah, kind of coming around the same period of Brokeback Mountain. This is a very interesting... It sets itself up for kind of an interesting film in general here. It's a film that works, I think, because of how good the performances are in here by Piper Perabo and Lena Headey, also Matthew Good, as well as Anthony Head. But everything else about it is just kind of generic. I mean, it doesn't really take full advantage of... It doesn't do the same things that made Kissing Jessica Stein the great movie that was. That's another movie that I think of when I think of this film in general. But yeah, it just didn't really live up to, I think, all the expectations that I think they had for it going into it. I mean, it's not that it's a bad movie per se. It's just a film that you kind of wish there was a little bit more to it, and it does fall into, unfortunately, pretty generic romantic comedy cliches we've seen done to death so many times. You expect so much more from it, from its concept alone, from the premise alone, and the casting alone, and it just doesn't give it to you when it's all said and done, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, as much as I want to give it credit for doing something unique and different, I got to give it a hard pass, unfortunately. So, avoid Imagine Me and You. And so, with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time, we'll head into Super Bowl weekend. This is when the weekend the Super Bowl was played, which means that you're more than likely not going to get any good movies this weekend. Case in point, the remake of When a Stranger Calls, starring Camilla Bell, and we also have the something new with Simon Baker and Sanaa Lathan in another different kind of unique romantic comedy. At least that's how it's marketed. But will it be that way, or will it just be in like another Imagine Me and You? Well, we'll take a look at those movies. We'll look at both of them on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button, because we post here every day. And so you get notifications of when new videos come out. So with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.